Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today we're going to be doing a speed paint of something that I've been doing regularly for Team Liquid that I never really record, and I'm not sure why it never occurs to me to record it, but today I caught myself in the middle of working on it, and I thankfully did not get too far, so I'm going to do a little intro explaining before I actually start recording my process, and that is that I am doing the next Player of the Month portraits for Liquid. So I've already done 3 of them. I'll put them up on screen and I'll link the articles below in case you want to read them, see the art more at your own pace. Typically, it's kind of like this Player of the Month. They'll do an article. I'll draw the player with either their character that they like or just some cool like gaming features to kind of summarize it with whatever they like. And so these 2 players here are their Hearthstone players. They've got, oh my God, I'm gonna butcher these names. I'm so sorry. So this is Slysssa, oh God, and Savjz, I think it's Savjz. 2 Hearthstone players. They're typically playing Battlegrounds right now. So this app, before I continue, is a program called PureRef. It's really amazing. As you can see, you can put it on top of things and you can like click stuff in Photoshop or anywhere and it stays on top. So normally you'll see it in the corner when I'm streaming. If you go back to the rest of my VODs, typically I'll have it like this in a corner or something, and you can like use hotkeys and kind of like scroll around pretty comfortably. You can zoom in, zoom out with the scroll wheel, but I have it this large because I had it on my other screen to just facilitate just seeing everything all at once. And here you'll see I try to get the person's face from multiple angles with kind of different expressions to understand how their face moves. We've got her favorite card here. We're doing a pirate theme because she apparently plays pirates and is very good. And then we've got Savjz here with different angles. We've got his favorite cards, and we're going to be incorporating some of these elements into their portraits. And so I'm going to go ahead and move this over, and here you'll see the progress that I've made already before I caught myself to start recording. And here I have, first of all, let me hide this really quick. We've got my main sketches, and normally I will have these on their own file, but because these 2 are going to be put into the same article, I want to make sure they look good together and they look cohesive. So here you'll see them inverted on different sides of the page, side by side, and you'll see this very light gray box kind of enclosing each of them. I have them set into a mask layer using this here, vector mask, just to make sure they stay in their place. This is the only area I want to cover for her, this one for him. You'll see my initial sketch layer, and for those of you that are regular viewers of mine, you'll know that normally I'll do my first layer, my S or S1, is just my composition like vibe sketch. It's basically what tells me kind of the structure, the composition, where everything's gonna go, how it's gonna move. It just kind of gives me a good picture of how it's gonna flow. And so there's really not much detail. It's not very correct. It's just kind of all splashed on together. And then I'll move on to something called an S2, which is now where you'll see that I'll start adding the details, start fixing things anatomically, you know, the good stuff. And depending on how complex the piece, I will have like S3s, S4s, S5, and as the layers go on, they'll successively get, wait, does that even work in English? Sucesivamente. Sucesivamente se pone más complicado. They'll get more complicated as the layers go on. And so these normally don't require anything more than an S2, maybe an S3. For those of you that saw my izakaya illustration, which a Japanese commenter was very kind enough to correct me on that, you'll notice that I had like S3s, S4s, S5s, like multiple. I just kept editing. So sometimes I will have way more than just the 2 because I just need to fix a lot of things and I just keep tweaking. I just really want it to be perfect, so I keep nitpicking as the layers go on. And so that's basically where I started before I realized I should probably be recording this. So unfortunately I don't have the construction sketches, but good thing we'll get a good chunk of this one because I already started on this one, but we'll get a good chunk of this one more so from the beginning. So you'll get to see the whole process of these, and hopefully they will come out good. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I'm sorry that I didn't get the whole thing. Maybe next time it will occur to me to actually grab it from the beginning. So with that being said, let's jump into the speed paint. All right, so moving on to the part of the speed paint that I actually did record. Like I said, we have Savjz and Slysssa, and normally when I do these, for those of you that don't know what these are, they are articles that Team Liquid does called Player of the Month, and they will take, as the name implies, one of their players and highlight them monthly with an article and a drawing. These articles are hosted on their website called Liquid Plus, which everything I'm talking about I'll link down below so that way you guys can check it out. And so a lot of these drawings always have like a Liquid Plus logo in them, which looks kind of like a rainbow circle and a white plus. So when I do these, normally it's one person. Here you see that I'm doing two, which we'll get to in a second, but normally it's one person and they have to have some sort of Liquid Plus logo in it and potentially a jersey, or depending on what the theme is. With this article specifically, it was going to be two people. Normally I do it one person on the left and they put their article on the right and everything else. And for this one, we have two players, two Hearthstone players that play Battlegrounds specifically. Normally, I also try to include a theme that the players kind of like or want, depending on the game that they play. And because I don't normally have direct contact with the players, I will have to ask the staff more or less of a summary of maybe some of their favorite cards in this instance, since it's Hearthstone, maybe card backs or deck archetypes, their favorite class, etc., etc. So for here, Slysssa, I was told, was very good with the pirate archetype, so I decided to make her drawing very, pirate-like. I gave her the pirate coat, the hat, and I picked these from existing cards. Then for Savjz, he did not want that much Hearthstone theme in it, so you'll see that for him I just kind of put the jersey and I included a pirate hat because one of his favorite cards was Gold Grubber, which thankfully just so happened to be a pirate, so that way both of the players look like they belong kind of together. That was an interesting coincidence. It wasn't that the theme was pirates, it was more so that they each individually just so happened to have pirate-like themes in the things that they wanted included. So Team Liquid has a very cute little mascot called Blue, which you'll see on the coins floating around Savjz, and I decided to include a little blue emblem on Slyssa's hat. Now, as far as the Liquid Plus logo, it's always kind of a struggle to find where to put it so that it doesn't look strange, because the Liquid Plus logo is a rainbow. It's almost like it matches with everything, but it also doesn't. So I always have to find a place to put it so that it doesn't look tacky in the drawing, so that it doesn't look like I forced it to be there. So I decided to go with a card back. So for those of you that play Hearthstone, you'll know that every month you get a card back for reaching a certain rank, or actually they changed that, for playing a certain amount of ranked games that month. And you can get special card backs at events or tournaments. And so I decided to come up with a Liquid Plus card back. Now, one, I was on a very strict deadline, and two, I am not very good at designing these sorts of things, and I just didn't have enough time to. So I kind of came up with like a sideways one that kind of looks good from far away, and you can kind of tell it's supposed to be a Liquid Plus card back, but also not enough that you could like zoom in and really admire the details, because there aren't any. There's no like ingenuity behind this card back design. So it was one of those, look at it from far away, squinting, maybe with your eyes closed, because yeah, not great. either way, I found a way to kind of, you know, through the power of color dodge and color burn, I was able to make it look somewhat decent. So I'll show you once we get to the Slysssa one what ended up happening there. One of the other things that happened to me with these drawings is that I used a shirt series from Team Liquid called Leviathan. Now, their Leviathan jerseys and attire, I was not informed that these were for shooters. So people, they're players that play shooters. It's like, this is mostly what this series is for. So when I sent in several sketch concepts, no one informed me because the people that I was working with, the staff, they weren't aware of it either. And none of us found out until much later. And I was like, well, I mean, at least they look cool, right? At the end of the day, at least they look cool. So, you know, if you're a hardcore Team Liquid fan and you happen to notice that, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. We did not know, but they do look cool. I love the designs. I love the colors. For these jerseys specifically, normally they have like this like stripe coming down on the side, and instead of Savjz, because I don't know if you saw it briefly there, I put his name, it says Leviathan, like LVTHN. I did the same thing for Slysssa where I just substituted the Leviathan logo name for their tags, basically. I've had such a good time doing these, guys. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the other ones, but they are probably some of my best work, my best portrait work to date. I am actually unbelievably proud of them, and I'm so happy and thankful that Team Liquid keeps asking me for these every month. It's been so fun to kind of push myself, and they're so lenient about everything. They just kind of let me have fun, and they just kind of let me go. And their constructive criticism is so good. Like, you know, sometimes you look at a drawing for too long, you don't really see things, or it's just you're so used to your own style that you don't see kind of maybe something that a good third person perspective would probably see. So they're always really nice. I always send them works in progress, and they're always like, hey, maybe this wouldn't work here, and then sure enough, like, I'll fix it and it just works. So they're just super nice. Honestly, I have zero complaints. They're so sweet and I love working with them. I've definitely had some really bad experiences working with certain teams or people, and it doesn't help either because I have my own set of anger issues, all right? And I've learned pretty much the hard way. I won't get into too many specifics, but I've learned pretty much the hard way, because in situations where I should probably keep my cool, I don't. I just lose my temper, and then, you know, I burn bridges for what, you know? So I learned the hard way, and it's been a slow road to anger management recovery. But no, there are definitely people who are easier to work with than not, and they really bring that positive side out of you. I feel like as an artist, when I'm encouraged to be my most authentic artistic self is where I thrive the most. I think when I have clients that just constantly nitpick my work, it feels like very demoralizing, and I just feel like my whole momentum is broken. And so part of being someone that hires an artist, it's not just hiring the artist, but like you can be a good customer as well. So part of hiring an artist, I think, is understanding the artist that you are hiring. So you want to make sure that you understand what type of art they do, understand their different art styles. And obviously, like, you don't have to understand this to like a super intricate degree, but if you are an art appreciator and you want someone to work with you, I feel like at a baseline, you should understand these things, because you wouldn't go to, for example, like you wouldn't come to me for like a super hyper realistic painting, because that's just not what I do. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is, you know, you want to understand who you're working with. Or like if somebody, I've had companies who try to work with me where they're like, hey, could you tone down like the lewd content? I'm like, bro, do you even know who you're working with? Like, my name is Nips, okay? Like, first of all, my name is Nips. Second of all, have you seen like half of my content? You know, so it almost feels like, not like tone deaf isn't the right word. It's like, it's just not, you're just not informed. Like, why are you even hiring me? I don't know. So when a customer really understands you, your work, your process, they appreciate what you have to offer, and they're really lenient about it, oh my God, it's the best. It's honestly the best. Here you will see me start on Slysssa. So remember when I said there are some things that went down with this drawing that I would tell you once I started drawing her. So normally when I draw people and portraits, I've said this before, and it's probably, I don't know, it's just the most accurate description of how I draw someone, is I just try to capture their essence. Now, the thing with that is that different artists will portray people in different ways and auras and energies. And typically when I draw portraits, I like to gravitate towards like cool and badass. So most of the time when I draw someone, I will kind of not bend reality, but like I always try to give that energy, like cool and badass. That's like my favorite thing to do. I will take a bunch of pictures of them from Google, obviously, and I will like learn their face. So I don't like copying an existing picture. I'll basically find pictures of their face in every single angle that I can. Obviously, depending on where the drawing, like if I'm drawing them laughing, I won't look for pictures of them like crying. You know what I mean? Like relevant reference pictures. So make sure that I understand the shape of their nose, their eyes, their mouth, everything. And then once I do that, then I try to bend reality, because obviously I have to mold it into my art style. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I kind of lose the plot. Okay, sometimes it just doesn't look like them and I've taken it too far. So part of that is finding the balance between fun caricature of them and like realistic, I can tell who it is. With this one, it'll just go to show how important it is that the person that you're drawing likes the way that they're represented. So I went ahead with the cool, like badass route for Slysssa. And a lot of the staff really liked it. They were okay with it. Once I got feedback from Slysssa, she was not like happy about it. She didn't really like it. She said that it didn't look like her. That's like completely normal, because like I said, sometimes I kind of lose the plot and I try to take it too far as like looking cool or, you know, the vibe that I want to give off. So I changed it several times and she still did not like it. It kind of got to a point where I basically had to redraw her entire face. So I did mention that you guys are gonna see what I meant with the card. Guys, when I tell you that I did not want to redraw that card and that I didn't want to reshade it, I took the card in Savjz's hand and I warped it. I flipped it and I warped it to the point where like it looked like she was holding it. I copy paste. I was not going to redraw this card. And honestly, I wonder if it just would have been faster to redraw it. But at that point, I was committed to not redrawing it. So I just, yeah, that was the. I was like, listen, you only have to like look at it from far away, like with your eyes closed. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I ended up basically redrawing her entire face. And that part I did not record because at that point, like I had already checked out. I had already finished recording and I totally forgot to start it up again. So all the changes that I made to her face afterwards are completely lost. So I'm gonna have to show you guys a picture, maybe side by side with my version and the version that she ended up liking, so that way you guys can see more or less what I ended up doing. But basically what she wanted was more like to be pretty. So she wanted to just look like a Disney princess, kind of. If you've seen my art, you guys know that Disney princess is not the aesthetic that I'm good at. Like I'm just not good at making things look like pretty and like dainty, and I just cannot do it. It's so difficult. Not to say that every Disney princess is dainty and I'm like, you know what I mean? But it's like the general aesthetic. And so I basically had to repaint her whole face to be more just like she's just pretty. Like there's nothing else. Like she's just pretty. I'm not entirely proud of how it came out. It's interesting because when I fixed that drawing, to her, she felt like she looked like herself, but to me, it didn't feel like my art. So we kind of like switched positions, but obviously her position is more important than mine because she's the one I'm drawing. So at the beginning, like my version felt like me. I'm like, this, I feel comfortable here, but she didn't see herself in it. And then when I fixed it, she saw herself in it, but I didn't like how it looked because it didn't feel like my art. Like I just felt like an alien to it. So it is really interesting, like now that I think about it like that. But yeah, so I went ahead and I posted, they used obviously the other one. I posted my version and I have two versions now. So I am super proud of the line work and the details that I put into these. Normally I'm very bad at form and shapes. I know a lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but I really do struggle a lot in making things feel like they're there and foreshortening them and placing them properly. But I am actually really happy with how this came out. The clothing folds, the shape of the hat was a struggle, but I actually really like how it looks. Originally, I was going for the red jacket because the character, that's the gold grubber jacket, was red, but it was way too much red. I wanted her and Savjz to kind of balance out, but the red was way too overwhelming because the jacket was too big. And originally I had made her hat red as well, maybe like a different red, but it was still like way too much because they both had red hats. So I kind of just went with the brown one and it ended up working out. I made her nails red and just that was able to balance out Savjz's hat without feeling like I was trying too hard to match them. That was really fun and exciting. And then her shirt was supposed to be like a pirate version of the Leviathan jerseys. I have some like rips at the bottom. I've got some like cross, like the laces at the top kind of holding the collar together, and it was kind of cute. Like it's fun. It didn't end up really looking that much like a pirate version of the shirt, but attempts were made. Normally when I do these, I go for a kind of soft cell shade look. It's kind of become a type of shading that I've been doing as of late, where I will do the shading and then I'll do like a softer, less opaque kind of line on top of it so that it looks like it's fading, but it's not. It's like soft cell shade, but it's literally soft cell shading because I don't really gradient it or use a fuzzy brush. I just make it so that the cell shading is softer. So I've been using that technique a bit with these and I just really enjoy it. Everything looks so, well, soft. The shirt that I designed for her was a little bit of a headache because I couldn't find a way to make it look like it belonged with what she was wearing, but also that it didn't look tacky because of the pirate cut, but also that the text didn't look tacky. So the Leviathan text is kind of, if you've seen the shirts, it's kind of, I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like tech, like high tech, and it almost looks like just blocks, kind of like triangular, like rectangular blocks that just stack, like Tetris, like high-tech Tetris blocks. And it was gonna be, I wanted to kind of go with that font, but I wanted it to be readable, but also Slyssa's name is really long. So that one that I ended up coming up with was the product of me trying to figure out all those things. So you'll see that I put 2 S's in one, and then I put the S and the A under it also together because her name was too long to fit vertically. I was gonna do the 3 S's in one line and then, you know, like triple S and then A at the bottom, but I don't know, it just didn't look right, so I kind of just went with this. In the end, I really do kind of like the whole vibe of everything. It was really fun to do these, like I said. I think this whole series, all the portraits in this whole series are some of my best works. Products of just working in a good environment, good, friendly, encouraging environment. I feel really good about putting my all into them and always feeling like, I don't know, I always just feel very encouraged and positive whenever I'm doing stuff with them. So yeah, there's gonna be another one coming soon after this. So hopefully I will be recording that one from the beginning so that way we can see everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully it wasn't too boring or too long as usual with the commentary. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought. Like, subscribe, join the Nippy family. The more the merrier. I will be putting the links of everything down in the description below if you guys want to check it out. Before I go, for those of you wondering, yes, I am still on hiatus. I am working on my comic full time. It is 18 plus and it is called Off Cell. You can go read it at offcellcomic.com. I am on hiatus, but I am posting regularly on a private Twitter that you can gain access through my shop for a one-time fee of $5. And you will have access to this Twitter until I finish the next 4 chapters, which will be pretty much either half a year to a year. So you'll have full access to that for that whole time. You can go ahead and find the link either on the Offsell homepage, where I've also put a column with the chapter I'm working on and the percentage progress of each stage. As I work on it, I will update it. I put the date at the bottom just so you know the last time I updated it was. So just in case you don't have access to the private Twitter, you can check on that periodically. And you can also find the link in my shop at artbynips.com in the main shop. I'll be putting the links of all of that down in the description below. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys next video. Bye.